17 games, almost 40 years. From side-scrollers to open-world epics, Zelda has worn many faces. Well, Link, but you know what I mean. Today, I'm taking on the challenge of officially ranking every mainline Zelda from worst to best. Some will soar, some will stumble. In some takes, they might just break the internet, or at least this side of it anyway. So, let's get started. With number 17, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. So, kicking us off at the way bottom is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. This game was released in 1987, and it boldly shifted to a side-scrolling role-playing style game with experience points, magic spells, and brutal, difficult combat. It gets props though for trying something new, but the punishing difficulty curve and the clunky design of the game made it the franchise's most divisive entry to date. Importantly, from a historical perspective, but today it's often seen as a curiosity more than a must-play. What do you think? Have you ever played this one before? Let me know in the comments below. So, from punishing experiments like this game to chaotic multiplayer madness, let's move on to number 16, The Four Swords Adventure. So, in this game, Zelda goes co-op. The Four Swords was an ambitious multiplayer spin-off where you needed friends and extra hardware to fully experience the game properly. While the puzzles were clever and working together could be hilarious, playing solo stripped out much of the magic. So realistically, this is just a multiplayer version of the game. It's fun in bursts, but compared to the grand adventures we expect from Zelda, it just doesn't stand that tall when you want to play with it by yourself. So, let's swap out the multiplayer chaos for something a little bit more on the rail, shall we say, with number 15, Spirit Tracks. Now this one took us on a wild ride. I mean, literally. You control a train across a colorful, charming overworld, but the strict railway routes made exploration feel, well, a little limited compared to the series' standard overall. However, on the plus side, Zelda herself was more involved in this game than ever, which is a good thing because normally she's a damsel in distress of some description, and she directly helps you solve puzzles. However, the stylus controls and the repetitive train travel kept this game from reaching its real full potential, as you can probably see. So, let's stick with the DS era, but this time let's chart a course for another experimental journey in number 14, Phantom Hourglass. A direct sequel to The Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass captured some of the breezy spirit, well, at first it did anyway. Touchscreen only controls felt fresh, but returning again and again to the Temple of the Ocean King overall frustrated a lot of players when they played this game. It's charming, it's got its good points, it's clever in parts as well, but it felt a bit bogged down by some of the more questionable design decisions that the game made, such as this map on the left-hand side, for example. So, with that being said, let's go a little bit further back in time, to the one that started it all off, with number 13. The Legend of Zelda for the NES. Now this is the original 1986 version, and this one was revolutionary for its time. It dropped players into a vast open world, and there was no hand-holding. Obviously back in the day, a lot of the games had an extreme difficulty curve, so you had to pretty much take what you got. This game was very mysterious, it was very challenging, and packed with a lot of secrets. But today, without a guide, it can feel a bit opaque and you don't really know where you're going. Luckily, YouTube exists. But this game was an absolute landmark for gaming history. But it was a rough ride for newcomers to this type of genre. So, with that in mind, let's fast forward a little bit to a game that tried to redefine Zelda and the franchise, literally, with number 12, Skyward Sword. Now this one, it pretty much told the original story of the Master Sword, and it features some of the most emotional storytelling in the entire series, which is great. The dungeon design, top notch. But the motion controls, even improved in the HD remaster, like you're seeing here, it still divided fans to this day. Plus, the repeated revisits to the same area made the world feel a lot smaller when it should really feel a lot bigger. It's a flawed masterpiece, but it has its heart in the right place, and a lot of people like it for that reason. The graphics are pretty nice as well, compared to previous entries. Now, before we go on, if you disagree with the list, or if you think I put your favorite a bit too low in the rankings, Drop yours in the comments. Which so far do you feel is going to be the best for you? And hey, don't forget to hit the like button, and if it shouted, yeah! While hitting the controller, go ahead and subscribe as well. It'd be great to have you on the channel. So, let's move over to number 11, which is Oracle of Ages and Seasons. So this one was developed by Capcom. The Oracle games delivered 2 interlinked adventures on the Game Boy Color. Ages focus on the puzzles, while Seasons lead into the action. And linking the games together created a grander story. So there's effectively 2 games in one. They're clever, colorful, and very underrated. So I would definitely say, if you haven't played them, you're missing out on 2 underrated slices of classic Zelda. So with that being said, and also speaking of hidden gems, here's one that's smaller in scale, but definitely made up with its charm, which is number 10, the Minish Cap. So this game, it shrunk Link down pretty much to a bug, so that he can see the world from a bug's eye view, and you can also explore a very detailed world. Now, its vibrant art style, its creative puzzles, and the ability to fuse kinstones together added a lot of layers to exploration, which is great because The Legend of Zelda is pretty much all about exploration anyway. However, it is a bit on the shorter side compared to other Zelda games, but every moment in this game does ooze a bit of charm, as we can see here. And who can ever get tired of that sound effect? Let's stay portable for a bit moment longer with a journey that gets a little bit weird with number 9, Link's Awakening. This game proved that a Zelda game could be small, it could be strange, and it could be also deeply emotional. This one is set on the dreamlike Koholint Island, and it mixed together humor, melancholy, and some of the best dungeon designs on the Game Boy console itself. The 2019 remake only polished that magic without losing a bit of the characteristics that made the original so great. As we can see here, it is pretty cool. So, now, as we saw this game, we're about to take a sharp turn into the Twilight, and into a much darker version of Hyrule with number 8, Twilight Princess. Now this one, as I said earlier, it went dark, but it also went cinematic as well, delivering some of the best dungeon crawling and boss fights in the game. Argue with your mother in the comments if you don't agree. Wolf Link added a fresh layer of exploration to the game, and Midna remains one of the most greatest companions in any Zelda game as well. Once again, if you don't agree with me, tell me why in the comments. The slower opening hours of the game does drag quite a bit. However, once it picks up, it doesn't let go for the remainder of the game. Now we got this game out of the way, let's go back to a lighter, faster, wall-bending adventure with number 7, A Link Between Worlds. Now this game reimagined the SNES classic A Link to the Past. However, it added the mechanic, which is pretty cool, of merging into walls as a painting. Kind of sounds a little bit like Super Mario, a little bit, but anyway. Non-linear dungeon order and renting items gave players freedom like never before in this game. Quick-paced and brimming with charm, it's often cited as one of the best handheld Zelda games ever made, which is a really good contender, seeing how high it is on the list. So, speaking of bold moves that game developers made for Zelda, remember when everyone freaked out over a certain art style, which was number 6, The Wind Waker. Now, The Wind Waker's toon-shaded art was mocked at launch by a lot of people. However, today, it's now timeless. It's funny how these things happen over time. When you give people enough time to do things, it becomes retro and legendary. This seafaring adventure game is packed with personality, packed with memorable characters, and also packed with some of the most expressive animation in gaming. The HD remaster improved the sailing speeds and the visuals, making it even more beloved than it was when it got launched and over time. But if you want Zelda that's a bit more dark, that's a bit more surreal at the peak of its popularity, look no further to number 5, Majora's Mask. Now, anyone who is 30 and above has probably played this game on N64 when we were a kid. Majora's Mask is Zelda's weird but beautiful fever dream. Trapped in a 3-day cycle, you see the same characters living out heartbreak, hope, and fear. It's a more intimate, emotional game, emphasizing the side quests and moral choices over dungeons, but it has its place in the series. It's a unique masterpiece that deeply resonates with the fans even to this day, because, once again, if you don't actually do everything you're supposed to do, the game is over, because, effectively, the moon crashes into the Earth. And then everything becomes a nightmare. So, with that being said, let's move on to the game that laid the foundation for almost every Zelda game that followed afterwards, with number 4. A Link to the Past. Now this one perfected the top-down formula, introducing parallel worlds and complex dungeons, while maintaining that silky smooth gameplay that other titles were known for. It's endlessly replayable, and nearly every 2D Zelda game since owes it a huge debt because of what it did in order to pave the way. If you've never played the game, I have when I was younger, you're missing a core piece of gaming history right here, and I would very advise you to find a way of playing it. If you want me to play it on this channel, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure I'll put it in here at some point in the future. Alright, time for the heavyweights. Now we're down to the top 3. And it starts with In the Skies with number 3. Tears of the Kingdom. Now this game expanded Breath of the Wild's world vertically, adding sky islands, underground labyrinths, and a crafting system that made every single puzzle that you came across, and every battle, its own sandbox. Some fans miss the traditional dungeons that the other games had, but you have to admit, the creativity it encourages is unmatched in any other Zelda game, up until this point. It's an incredible sequel that stands very well and very tall on its own. As you can see here, the graphics are a whole lot better, the music still has that Zelda-like feel, but even after all that, one game still redefines 3D adventure itself, and that is number 2, The Ocarina of Time. The leap from 2D to 3D was never more magical than in The Ocarina of Time. Why? You had time travel, emotional storytelling, epic temples, a boss fight like this one. Everything just clicked into place. It's the blueprint for countless adventure games after it. And why not? Even today, despite some of the aging mechanics, and despite some of the dated graphics, it still remains one of the most important games ever made. Not just in the Zelda series, but in gaming history all around. But, I know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for which is the number 1 game that I'm going to talk about. Well, this game redefines not only Zelda, but open world gaming in the past couple of years, and it is number 1, Breath of the Wild. This game was a revelation, full stop, end of. You had the freedom to explore, the freedom to climb, the freedom to cook. When could you ever cook in a Zelda game? And the freedom to conquer any way you wanted to. The physics mechanics was next generation. It stripped Zelda down to its most adventurous roots and rebuilt it for a whole new generation. Some people miss the structured dungeons like Link to the Past or the Four Swords, but the sense of discovery, unmatched. It's a true modern masterpiece that changed how we think about adventure games as a whole. And the graphics are really cool as well, and it's won a lot of awards just based off of what the game does. And so, that's it. That's every Zelda game ranked officially. So, what are your comments? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with what I got here? Do you disagree? You think your favorite got lowballed at all? Drop your own list in the comments, and let's sell this Hylian style. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell so that next time, when I have another video like this coming out, you'll be able to let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm right, or something I should focus on better next time. Until then, may your rupees be plentiful and your heart full. Catch you guys later.